Welcome to the Menopause Playbook Podcast. I'm your coach, Amelia Lady B. Get ready to enhance your internal conversations and create strategies to navigate life, menopause, faith, health, and mental well-being. Grab your playbooks, ladies. It's time to get in the game. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to part 2 of Are the 40s waking you up or shutting you down? I really hope you enjoyed part 1. If you have not listened to part 1, I suggest you stop this one and watch part 1, then come back to part 2. But part 2 is also full of gems, and I hope you have your notebooks ready to take notes. Enjoy. So, Malene, I think Shakira did too. I'm not sure, but I know, Malene, you said something about well, no, both of you, I think, said something about like people around you and really trusting. Shakira, I think you said that part about having those people that really are there for you for real. And then Malene mentioned seasons. I want to talk about the friendship thing in our 40s. So,
Sure. Let's go. Let's go.
So, yeah. So we had friends, in high school growing up, whatever, whoever we met on our blocks or whatnot and stuff. How are those friendships going? Like, so I want to hear from y'all first before I go in, but.
Well, so I've never been a person that had a whole lot of friends, right?
Yeah.
But I've had a core, right? I've had a core. What I have learned in this season right now is call a spade a spade. And what I mean by that is I have distant friends now. Right. Yeah. And I don't mean you live in Florida, I live in Delaware. Yeah. I mean distant in the sense of where I'm going and where I'm growing, because sometimes it's not going, it's where I'm growing and where they're growing kind of don't have a lot of similarities. Mm-hmm. So I have chosen to be selective. If I'm going to answer the phone, should I pick up the phone? Do I want to hear the drama? Do I want to hear the trauma? Is this a necessary today relationship? Or is this, hey, how you been? I ain't talked to you in some months. Just catching up. Mama good? Dad good? Your kids good? Great. I'm glad that you're doing great. So I can be happy for people from a distance. And I can make the decision that just because you call me, don't mean I need to answer. I've been a person that has always been there for everyone at any time. And in this season, I don't have to be there for anybody but me. So friendships, I am very selective with. I consider you a friend. I consider both of you guys a friend, even though I don't see you guys every day. I don't talk to you every day. Mm-hmm. I know that when we do get together, it's peaceful. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have some laughs. We're going to talk about God. We're going to talk about growth. Yeah. But if you're not in a season for me that you're doing anything with your life, I don't need to be your friend anymore. So I'm at a space right now where I'm still looking for new friends. Okay. They used to have the song "No New Friends." I'm open to new friends because sometimes I need friends that you can call and say, hey, let's just pray. Or, hey, they call you and say, are you okay? It's not necessarily this one-way avenue where you're calling me with everything you have, but then you don't check on me. Yeah. And so I've learned that now sometimes that's a situation where it's like, you're calling me about everything, but have you said, how are you today? How's your day going? What you got going on? Are you okay mentally? Haven't heard from you. Don't see you on social. You're good with doing that. And they're like, hey, I know you haven't posted. You don't do nothing. But I'll say that to say, like, sometimes you need somebody to be able to check you, to be like, are you okay? Yeah. because I know who you are, and I'm still going to speak life into you. So the friends that I want are friends that are speaking life, growth, health, peace, and really having a connection of where I'm growing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so everybody else is just like those surface conversations. Hey,
Right.
how you doing? You went on vacation? Great, glad to hear it. Because I still wish you nothing but the best from
Right.
my heart. I still pray for you. I still hope all is well. But we don't have that same connection anymore, and I'm okay with that.
Right. So question then, with the people that you've kind of put in a zone, like they're in a certain category,
Mhm. Mhm.
has anyone noticed or said anything like, "Oh, you don't call me anymore," or like, has there ever been like a disconnect, or like they're just like, "I don't want to deal with you anymore," like I don't, then we're not friends?
No, so I haven't had that, but I will say they may say like, "Oh, you got a little distant, or you don't call as often, or are you, they may not say, are you okay? It just may be like, oh, I just figured you're in, whatever you have going on, and leave it at that instead of saying, what do you have going on? You
Right.
know, because I am a private person. I don't share my life with everybody,
Yeah.
and I may not tell you my most inner, deepest thoughts because you may not be able to handle what I'm going to say, and you may not have a response for me. So if I get that silent, which most of my friends know, I do go into these hiatuses, but most of that is because I don't want to hear what you got going on. I don't want you to call my phone. I don't want to be your problem solver, So I think that every once in a blue I do get that, when that time lapses long enough, then it's like, hey, how you been? And I'm like, oh, okay, you wanted to check on me today? Cool. You know? But but the reality is like I don't have to talk to everybody because we are in our 40s, right? You got lives going on, you got work, you got
Yeah.
career, you got entrepreneurship, your businesses. So I don't expect to speak to nobody every day. But I do expect it to be a two-way
Absolutely.
relationship. And if I can give to you and pour into you, I expect you to give to me and pour into me. And the laughter and the fun is cool and it's good, but I need a well-rounded kind of thing happening
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I agree 100% with Shakira. Like she like really just definitely put it out there as far as the quality of relationships and friendships that we're looking for. I feel like in your 40s, you ain't got time for the foolishness. You ain't got time for the petty stuff. I mean, if it's fun, well, let me just rephrase that because sometimes petty could be fun if you're amongst friends and you guys are all being petty together. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're having petty fun right now, you know? So
Yeah.
that's a girlfriend kind of fun. But, I think when it comes to relationships, it's important who's in your space because you have a specific direction and you want to add wind to that direction. I feel like, if you look at the ducks, they are in formation. And because of that connection, that wind, that collective wind causes them to go further faster. And I think in our relationships in your 40s, that's what we're focusing on. So it's like singles. If you're in a single category, you want singles or even married friends, but you want friends who have quality and are bringing something to the table. Same thing with marriage. So it just really depends on what stage and what level you are in your life and what are you pursuing.
Right.
Because if we're all pursuing growth, pursuing to grow, to growing and to being healthy and to being entrepreneurs and really building the life that God says that we can have, then you want those individuals around you to even say, hey, you're doing this, but guess what? You can do it a different way. If you tweak this, you can get more done in a less period of time. So having those relationships really work well in this season of life. I know one of the things I mentioned that, getting rid of non-essentials. And that's key because there are certain people that they're good to have fun with, but they're not good to build a business with.
Right.
And it's identifying that. It's like, listen, when I'm ready to go out and hang out, I'm gonna holler at you, but I'm
Right.
not right now. I'm not there. That's not what we're
Right.
doing right now. You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying? We're focusing on some other things and other ventures. And so being able to I want to say categorize, but I want to use that loosely, right? But really identifying the type of friendship and the type of relationship that you have with individuals and just where they are. Sometimes some people are just in a space like they're not interested in growing.
Right. I think
So
it's like the Bible says unequally yoked, and I know a lot of times we use that as like just for
relationship,
marriages, but I
but
think
it's
that's in every aspect of the way, whether
correct.
you're trying to build a business partnership or with friendships for sure. Are we really equally yoked? We may not have the same interests, we may not have the same anything, and it's not even to cut off to say, oh, because they're not a believer, I'm not going to be friends with them. But no, because I can still speak into your life. But what I
Right.
mean by that is like they just don't fit into your, like Shakira was saying, are you somebody that's just going to keep bringing up drama? Are you going to keep calling my phone talking about your drama? Or are we going to have conversations where I can also call you about things that's going on in my life, you can call me, but we also talk about positive things, how to uplift each other. Like, girl, we need a break, let's go somewhere.
Yes.
It's something like that, reciprocated. Like we have a nice movement of relationship, like you're on a
Yeah.
bicycle, we're both riding along the way, not something where if you stop then I fall off.
Right. And you know what? It's that understanding. It's that mutual understanding and mutual respect. Because it doesn't have to, like, someone doesn't have to share my faith for us to have that mutual respect and that
Right.
mutual understanding. You have to have mutual maturity, though. And so I
Correct.
feel like if you're in a space of, okay, this is what she believes, that's fine, but she's just awesome in business. And I love connecting with her because when we talk about business, it always sharpens me. Just like the Bible says, it's iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
So it's really that maturity. If we just understand that, listen, we're here doing life together, right? And so if we can connect based on mutual respect and mutual understanding, we're unstoppable, literally.
Yeah.
And that's, for me in my 40s, that's what I focus on. So if I'm having a conversation with someone new and I don't see that, then it's like, okay, well, they can't be that close of a friend. We can definitely have cordial conversations, but that's about it, So,
Right. There's nothing wrong with that at all, right? Because I may have a friendship in business, and that might be all we have in common is that you are a business builder, but I might not want to go to brunch with you. Like, it may not, unless we're talking about business, it may not be something, so it's kind of like, finding the people that fit the pockets of your life.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, it's the same. I feel the same way. It's just like everybody fits a different pocket. I love that. Fits a different pocket. I love it.
And you know what? To be honest with you, 40s is a really good time. I think in life we're not so self-absorbed in that, you're so concerned about what people think. And it's like when you're in your 40s, just like, bum that. I don't care what it's like, I'm living, I'm doing my life, I'm doing what God's called me to do. And that's most important in everything. And I think we get to that phase through going through all the stuff that we've been through. And now it's like, listen, we don't have time for that other stuff. We're here about the business and about what's most important to us.
Yeah. I did an episode, I don't remember which episode it was, but anyway, I was talking about how, we would hear either grandparents or just older people in general just say anything that come off the cusp. Like they can say anything and won't think twice about it. I said, I think I'm reaching that season. Like I'm getting there. And I said, I love it.
Faster than you think, right?
I love it. Because before, when I was younger, I'd be like, why she said it like that? And then the way they say it, it's like it comes from a place of love at the same time, but it's criticism. And then you're like, I don't know how to really take this, but they meant what they said and they walk off.
Yes.
That's where I'm headed. Like I feel like when we get there, when we start our 40s, I won't say like at 40, I would say once you start getting into your 40s, you're like, yo, my words have power and I mean what I say. I'm gonna start meaning what I say.
I think I reached that point, Coach Amelia. I reached that point about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Right? When I had a conversation. No, actually it was last Monday when I had a conversation with a colleague. Let me put it like that. And, you know, they were trying to fish me out. You know, they were just trying to fish me out, put me, kind of like back me up in a corner. And, you know, they wanted to remain friends, but yet do their dirt. And then I just let them know. I said, nah, I'm not about that life. And I did it in such a way, or it happened in such a way that their whole countenance changed. They were so shocked that I was backing away from them and just challenging them, that they were so shocked. And I dropped the mic. I walked out after that. I was like, conversation is over, because I came to the place of like, you know what? You're not being honest with yourself. And because you're not being honest with yourself, you want me to appease you, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you deal with what your own demons are. Yeah. And I'm walking away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Leave people in their own mess. And right. A lot of times when you make those bold statements, or those like have those uncomfortable conversations that once at some point you wouldn't be able to have with someone, whether it's a coworker, colleague, even a boss or a friend, or even a family member. Sometimes the family members are the hardest to have that uncomfortable conversation with. And you're like, I don't really want to say it. Gotta say it. And you're like, God, give me strength, because I really gotta say it because it's bothering me. And I hope that is received, but I don't care if it is or it's not, because I have released it. And that is the most important thing, that I'm not walking around with it. So I've said, you know, in this year, some things that I would normally have not said, but it was like, listen, I am bothered because, and this is how this makes me feel.
Yeah.
Take it, leave it, walk away, be upset, have an attitude for a week, don't talk to me. I really don't care anymore, because if you don't say it, I don't want to be at someone's gravesite saying it because I'm upset because they passed away and I can't, you know, now I should have said something that really still eating me up today. So if anything in these 40s, my boldness, which I've always had a little bit of, has gotten to a more mature level. Right. Because as you mentioned, with older folks, they would just blurt things out. But I have the wisdom now of the timing of when I should say it. And I have the just knowing the timing when to say it, and also knowing the right way to say it. So they know it's out of love, but this is what's going on.
Yeah. I always pray. I always say, like, God, when something's happening and I'm like, I really want to say something, I always be like, God, just open a door for me, to just let me know when it's time for that door to open. And a lot of times he always comes through. And when the door opens, the person may say one word and it gets to me. And I'm like, this is it. This is the moment. And I'm like, well, you know, now that we're on this subject, you know, XYZ. And a lot of times, actually, each time that has happened, I've always found the words to say, and then it's always gone over really well. I haven't had a bad moment yet. And I think it's just like you said, wisdom. And we're asking God, Lord, give me the timing to say it. Because if you come out of pocket, like in the moment, a lot of times, if things happen in the moment, it could be a little detrimental because you're high in emotion. The person is high in emotion, depending on what the situation is. And it's just not a good, it's not a good look. It's not a good time. And then you're regretting, you go back regretting, oh, I should have never said it like that. And we have no time for that anymore. Right. Like we're saying, we have no time for that. And so it's always really not trying to figure out, but praying and asking strategically, what do I need to do right now in this moment? Because I'm not going to hold on to this anymore. I'm forgiving everybody because I don't have time to be up at night trying to figure out, I should have said this. And I'm known to be that person to be like, oh, maybe I should have did this. And like, should I have said this? I'm calling people, should I have said it then? Or what should I? No, I have no time for that. I want to sleep. You know?
Yes.
I want to sleep.
Yes.
I want to sit down and watch a movie and watch it completely and not have thoughts running through my head about somebody else. And they're at home sleeping.
Unbothered.
Unbothered. and I'm up at night. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think in our 40s, well, I could just only say really for us, you know, that maturity thing, it was like the maturity in our relationships, but also the maturity in God has influenced how we've handled situations. And we're in a space now that, you know, we value that. And having the opportunity to teach others too, because it's not common, y'all. You know, it's not common because there's so much in cancel culture that really they emphasize just cutting people off, when it's like, yeah, I understand that, but there's a healing process, there's a forgiveness process, there's so much more that is just, you know, you just don't cut people off. Well, some people, but you know what I mean, as far as that's not the first option. The first option is to have a conversation, you know, and then see, can we work things out? Can we talk through? And if not, it's like, okay, you know, we're going to agree to disagree and go our separate ways. And the truth is, if you're reckless out here, you're going to find yourself just in a constant whirlwind of situations and drama. But the fastest way out is out of humility and forgiveness and repentance. And that's,
I'm going to steer the conversation now, like in a different way, because we are 40s, you know, and for me, because this podcast is about menopause, okay, and a big advocate for women's health. I find a lot, especially with Black women, we kind of put ourselves on the back burner in so many different ways, whether it be in our, again, relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, even for those women who are married with children. We kind of put ourselves back and everybody else forward. How are you handling, you know, your health, everything, your physical health, your mental health? How are you handling that and putting yourself first, so that you can be there for yourself and for your future families?
I think for me, I wasn't raised. Let me just put it like that. I think that's a really good way to say that. I was not really raised in an environment where we prioritize. Oh, I saw my mother prioritizing her health. She always prioritized us. And yes, that was good. But it's almost like me now that I'm older, I see myself doing the same thing my mother has done. And I've prioritized, okay, if my mom's sick, I'm going to go take care of her. If my brother, if anybody else is not doing well, I will sacrifice myself to take care of them, right? And so for me, I realized I can't do that anymore. Like, it's crucial for me to begin to do what is necessary for me to have optimal health so that I can continue the mission that God put inside of my heart. Like, that's important. And so in my 40s, I had come to the realization that my health is it's just absolutely important right now, that I do everything that I can to make sure that I'm at optimal health. And when I say health, I also mean mental health. You know, I also mean spiritual health. I also mean, you know, yes, physical health as well. And so now more than ever, going to the doctor or seeing different specialists. Like, seeing a specialist was not a priority for me, but it is now. And it's like, you know, I have to practice what I preach. If I'm talking about telling others, you know, to have optimal health and for them to do what is necessary for them to accomplish their purpose, I've got to do the same. I have to model that. And so it's kind of like putting pressure on myself to say, okay, make sure you have every checkup this year. Okay, don't let this year pass without doing your mammograms, without doing, you know what I mean? All the different checks that we're supposed to do at this age, period. And that's something I've slacked on. And Amelia, Coach Amelia, you could definitely attest to that, because I didn't see it as a priority. But now it's like, nah, girl, you ain't Superwoman. And I think that mentality of, you know, that 20-year-old mentality that we had, that we were, you know, not necessarily untouchable, but we're young and we'll always be young and vibrant, that kind of like died. And it's like, no, that's not true. You need to understand that with age comes certain challenges. And in order to alleviate some of those challenges, you have to be proactive. So my 40s and where I am right now, being 47, it's like, girl, you've been blessed to be healthy for the majority of your life. Now you have to do some more work in order to maintain your health.
So, as Coach Amelia was speaking, I'm thinking, right? I'm hearing everything that you are saying, and I'm like, how do I start this? So I will say I've always had this up and down relationship with multiple areas of myself, period.
Mm-hmm.
Mental, physical, spiritual. It's been this open a door, then the rest of them close. Open another, and then the next one closes. So I'll start with I actually had a moment in probably my late 20s where I was so focused on physical health. Like I went to the doctors, I went to the dentist, I went to, I worked out, I got a trainer. I was like, I'm going to know what it's like to wear a 2-piece. I was like really focused because I was like, by the time I get 30, like nobody's telling me nothing. Right. And so I was so like genuinely focused on what I ate, my juicing. I was very big into it. Then here's the other piece of health. I came really into church and thought that I was getting my spiritual health in order. And at the time I was growing in my career, I was making a little more money. All of my money was going to the church. All of it was going to the church. So financial health was declining. Physical health was declining because I ate out every day. I had soul food, fried chicken, collard greens, didn't even see myself gaining weight.
Wow.
I thought I was gaining spiritual weight. So I was like, I work for the church 7 days a week. I'm giving to God. I'm doing everything spiritually and financially. But then I was getting evicted. I was dealing with repossessions.
Wow.
I was getting to a place where I was getting ready to file bankruptcy. And I was gaining weight rapidly. And mentally, everybody came to me as their therapist. So why would I think I need a therapist? Like, I don't know everything. I can bounce back from every piece of aspect of life. Mentally, that's what I said. I can do it all. And then as I was getting ready to turn 40, I realized that physically, I stopped looking in the mirror. I stopped eating good. I stopped going to the gym. I'm still reading my word. I was still giving all my finances, but now I'm financially broke. I'm physically broke. And I'm mentally broke, but I didn't know it. And then I get to that place where I'm getting ready to turn 40, and I'm like, look in the mirror finally, and I'm like, how did I get here? Like, I gained like 250 pounds. Like, and I don't know how. Now we all gain weight, right? It goes up and down, 40 years, but this excess was excessive. And when did you stop looking at you, caring about you, dressing for you, like listening to you? But you're in the Holy Spirit speaking to you. But he never told you about your health. He never told you that you shouldn't have gave all your money. He never told you should go negative to give to something that wasn't really him. It was to a person. It was to a ministry that you believed in. And no knocking the ministry I was in, so I don't want anybody watching to say this. But at the same time, God and the Holy Spirit I was supposed to hear that too. And I ended up having bariatric surgery because I realized not only that, but now my self-esteem is declining. Has declined all the way. I don't even know who I am anymore. the inner me is gone, the outer me is gone, the joy is gone, the mental is gone, but I'm still not, I don't know it yet. And the physical is gone and the finances are gone. Now you got 7 jobs and now you're hustling, bustling. Now you move away God. So now the spiritual is slowly leaving there, but you're trying to pick up something else. And so it became really hefty to try to carry it all. And now I'm in a space where it's like, okay, like you can still, get back into what God wants, get back into strictly his word, right? Make sure that you have a house over your head, make sure you have a roof over your head, make sure that you're eating, because now you had to undergo some major surgery, right? And of course, dealing with menopause early, some shifts have to happen, right? When you are told in your 30s, this is this is the outcome, and right now you're going to everything's going to change in your life, right? And so everything did change, right? I mean, I've lost 135 pounds. So outer appearance, to me, I'm okay. But still working on the inner, right? So it's like therapy. I guess I gotta go this route. Maybe psychiatrist. I might have to go that route. Maybe, and then getting back into the word. But now everything looks different for me in a spiritual growth sense and who am I serving, right? It's not a person, it's God, right? And or not a physical person on earth, I'll say that. But so for me, it's all of it, man. Talked about at the beginning of this podcast, the journey, like being okay with walking that out. So my focus in this year of 43 is regain greater. And greater in the sense of greater health, like be the best, be better than you ever was, right? And I have to find even that. I had this surgery, but the other piece that I didn't share is I'm a workaholic. All my time now, instead of going into people, goes into jobs because of so much financial loss. You're scared you're gonna lose again. So I say all that to say, every factor of health matters.
That's good, Shakira. So question, what were some of the steps that you kind of took to just get to that place of ding, 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 there's something wrong. Now we need to try to, correct, or we're working toward fixing or to the next step. At what point, and what are some of the steps that you took outside of this? Because you said you had the bariatric surgery, but what were some of the steps that you took to start getting into your financial piece and, different spaces?
So I relocated. I had to get away. I had to literally physically get away in order for me to put on a different pair of glasses. And I knew I had to run, like it was urgent. Like I had never felt that urgency before until then. It was like it was urgent. Now, of course, if I knew the world was going to shut down right before I did that, the other piece is this is right pre-COVID. But if I knew, I probably would have stayed a little close to my family in case something happened. But I think that it was like, I gotta go. Like I literally have to pick myself up and remove myself from this entire environment and put myself in an environment. I don't even know anybody. I have no connections. So I had to isolate in a sense and really isolate so I could see what's the culprit, what's happening, and then sometimes you think that, well, you go through this process where you think, I've forgiven everybody, I'm healed, right? And then you go back around those people and you realize, I'm not healed. I clearly I still got some work to do. And then, because that's the test, right? The test is, when you isolate, because people
Yeah.
always just move or just, whatever. When you isolate, you do have to come back and face that reality again.
Yeah.
And I think that facing that reality again, realize, okay, some things have shifted, right? Physically, I'm this, but mentally, I still got some unhealed wounds from childhood that I didn't think existed
Yeah.
until today or until this breakdown moment. So I think for me, it got to a point where it was a breakdown moment. And I think the important thing, and I think in your 40s, is really getting to really know you. Like, when you are off that kilter, like,
Yeah.
when you get to that shutdown moment, especially when you know the type of person you are, like, I am a hustler, bustler. I will work 80 jobs. I'll be out here doing groceries, whatever, because I had to do that during COVID. But when you get to that breaking point, that it was like, there's nobody that can help me.
For sure.
There's not a phone call I can make. So it's like, okay, well, God, you put people on this earth, right? They're called therapists, right? Like,
Yeah.
so let me start to look into that, or let me get a nutritionist, right?
Yeah.
Let me get a nutritionist, because I need some tips for making food. I got to start all over again. We talked about that dead end and that U-turn. Like, I got
Yeah.
to start over again. So teach me, what should I be eating again?
Yeah.
What should I be doing differently? Maybe there's some joy or some peace in me cooking a meal, you
Yeah.
know, from scratch, and learning to doing something I've never done. So I think the steps is really first that isolation piece, then getting the tools that I know nothing about, like the therapist, the third parties, right? The nutritionist. I don't have a trainer, but that's still on the goal. A trainer for the physical piece. And then, when we went through the COVID side, of course, there was nothing but online church, right? So I
Right.
figured out who do I really want to listen to,
Right.
and who do I want to listen to for this season.
Right. Right.
And then it was like some people stuck, and then some people was just for that time, and
Yeah.
maybe one person I still might listen to online because that's where I am. And so getting that spiritual piece. So I think in the aspect of all the health, the all the parts that involves health, it's how to feed your soul, and how to get the tools and the resources to feed not just your soul, but every other aspect of your health.
So it kind of like it mimics a lot of even some of the things that I've kind of been dealing with spiritually, mentally as well. So like pre-COVID, I would say maybe a year before COVID or whatever. And this is my first time saying it out loud, but like literally, I only say it to like certain people,
This is
but
like my
this
first
is the
time saying
time,
all of this
right?
out loud.
This is
So
this is the time here. But it's like God literally pulled me out of church. Not for any like bad reasons or anything. It was just like he said, like at the ministry that I was in, I was doing what was it? Like the social media stuff and everything. And I was like really happy about that and stuff. And God said, step back a little bit. And I said, okay, but God, I kind of like this. He's like, yeah, take a break. So I took a break and I was just I was like I don't know, a couple of Sundays I went and I was just like, I don't even know. Like, okay, so I'm worshiping or whatever. And like a couple weeks later, God was just like, you're not going back. I said, what? No, you're not going back. I said, okay, let me pray about this again. Cause is this me or is this God for real? Is he telling me this for real? He's like, yeah, you're not going back. And I was like, but God, I love this ministry. Like, I know these people for real in real life. Like, this is a really good ministry. He's like, no, you're not going back. So I didn't go back. And in that time, I struggled because I was like, who am I without going to church? Because my whole life, I went to church. I
right,
mean,
right,
every Sunday, you're going to church, Wednesday Bible study, youth night on Friday, you have choir
right,
rehearsal or whatever rehearsal you got going on, you're going to church, right? And so I was like, okay. And then I had to kind of like detox in that sense, but I also had to detox some of the things that I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going into that, but it's some things I had
A whole nother podcast, Coach
yeah,
Amelia.
that's a whole nother thing. But I had to detox from certain things, and then I had to learn me again. And mind you, I'm still learning that part of me and owning those parts of me, who I am, who God sees me as, how he I always get this mixed up. It's actually it was Malene who said it to me. I mentioned it on my last podcast as well, and I did it as like some tips that people can do because it really helped me so much. But it's really asking God or saying, God, I want to see me the way you see me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? Like, so when I started seeing little things God started showing me, I was like, that's me. He's like, yeah, that's you, girl. I created you. That's you. That's you for real. And I realized, and then sometimes people would say, Amelia, even some of my cousins, it's like, you come alive on social media. Like, that's you for real. And I was like, that is me for real. That's who God is saying, that's me for real. Like, I'm quiet, I'm an introvert, but at the same time, I have personality. I have something to offer.
Right.
I didn't know that I had anything to offer. I did not know I had any value. Did my voice really matter? Sometimes I would say, your voice matters. But did I believe that about myself? I didn't. I didn't believe that about myself. So I went through that. And as he's pulling me out, I'm getting deeper in my word, meaning reading it for myself. I'm having Bible study. I'm asking the questions. I'm like, God, dot, dot, dot. Malene and I are having Bible study together. And I'm like, so Malene, have you been through this? And some scriptures are coming to life. Now I've heard them my whole life in church, but I'm like, Malene, like I'll go to her room. I'm like, Malene, did you know that God said this? And she's like, yes, sis, it's always been there. I'm like, no. But did you hear how he said it? Did you hear it? And it's like mind blowing, but I love it because I'm getting to know Christ in such a bigger way.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm getting to know him, I'm getting to know me. And then I'm starting to see, Amelia, you are going to practice what we preach. We're not going to be like any other random person on platforms talking. If we're talking about, maximizing and being in optimal health, whether it be fitness, whatever it may be, you need to start doing it for real, for real. Like I was doing it, but I didn't really, I was just doing it for the show.
The
I was
optics.
doing it for the Instagram, for the photo op, oh, let me do this and let me record a couple of shots of what I'm doing. And I'm like, baby girl, you got to do this for real. And that's when God started shifting. When I was talking about that kind of like going back and forth on Instagram, it's because God started shifting my mind and saying, we got to do this for real. You are not like everybody else. Mentally, I had to get me together, but also too, I'm on the look for a new therapist. So I'm on the hunt for that because I need it. I do find myself, self-sabotaging. Sometimes I have to restructure. The thing about it is we are not robots, it doesn't come just like that. It's a repeated thing. If you stop, it has to become repetition. I think they say you have to hear things 7 times before it becomes a part of you. I think it's the same thing with doing things. You have to do it in repetition for a few weeks before it becomes a part of you. And it's okay even if you fall off. And it's okay to show the world if you fall off because that's life. We as coaches, as anyone, even with finances, Shakira, you're doing like finances and stuff, there are some things we might splurge where we shouldn't have. And you just teach and learn from that. You're learning and you're teaching people the same thing. I think we feel like we have to be I have to be picture perfect. I have to be Instagram ready. I have to be YouTube everything. No, you don't. We are all here just trying to make things work. And I feel like 40, we're like light bulbs on, and we're like, sis, I love to see the 40 somethings and plus get on here and be like, y'all, baby girl. I love to hear those, like the baby
Me
girl.
too.
You know,
Me too.
I love
Yes.
it because I'm like,
Yes.
yes, teach me, teach me.
Yeah, that's true. That
Yeah.
is true. That is
And it
true.
reminds you, you're not going through it alone, right?
Yes.
So we talked about just the different, like, no matter where you're from, no matter, like we're women, right? We're women in our 40s. Of course, Black women sometimes experience more, but I do feel like
Absolutely.
all women can experience some of the same things. And a lot of times it's just to remind you, like, you're not alone. Like, you're not going through this thing yourself. You're not in this rediscover, or it's like, how does it starts? It's like, I don't know who need to hear this, but and it's but it's like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but everybody needs to hear this because you're not alone. And when you think that it's just you're on this island by yourself, the reality is we're all facing it. It just may look a little different, it may sound a little different, and it may feel a little different. And sometimes that's based on the support groups we have, and sometimes it's just based on the situation or environment. But we're not alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're three different women with our own lives, and we still have a common the whole conversation was based off of common things that we were going through, and they all intertwine and interconnect. And it's crazy, but yet amazing and beautiful at the same time. And this is where it's like, I tell people all the time, you'll find the people that you need to connect with. This is whether it be friendships, like we talked about with friendships, but even on these platforms, some people will really resonate with me in millennial and menopause, and some won't, and it's okay. Some will resonate with Coach Malene, some will resonate with you, Shakira, and some won't, and that's okay. There's something for everyone. There's something out there. We just got to find it. And when it comes to health, just make you that priority, because if you can't help yourself, you can't help nobody else.
Put your
Not
mask on
even your
first.
children. You can't help anybody else.
And there's a lot of that going on in social media where people are just throwing out advice that it's not tested. And you can always tell the real ones. You can always tell those who've been there, done that, wrote the book, bought the t-shirt, because they talk from a place of understanding, knowledge, insight that you don't get from a book. You don't get from listening to a YouTube channel. You get it from experience, and you get it from life. And I feel like God is saying, listen, I want to give you guys the goods, and we're getting it through life. Dr. Miles Monroe said something, and it always stuck with me. And he said, God is the source and we are the resource. And so once we're connected and stay connected with God, the source, then everything that we offer is just an extension of God, and is an extension of his goodness, an extension of his wisdom, an extension of his untapped, unlimited resources. So for me, and for all of us, I believe we're on the same page with that. Like saying, listen, our journey is our journey, but at the end of the day, as long as we're connected to the source, and as long as we're walking this thing out, this is how it is. And the end result is his blessings. The end result is that his blessings make us rich, and it adds no sorrow. The end result is that abundance of joy. The end result is that unbroken fellowship with God. And it's something that we enjoy day to day. And that's what makes the journey so pleasurable at times. Because I know at times it'll be hard, but
What is some advice that you would give to someone in their 20s and 30s? Coach Malene, I'll let you go first.
All right. So listen, I think this is a very good question, because I feel like we're in a position to really, really give some good advice. And I think the first thing I would tell anybody in their 20s and 30s is to prioritize a relationship with God. And here's why that's number one, because God knows the shortcuts. He knows the shortcuts. He knows the barriers. He knows the pitfalls, and he can help you maneuver them. Or even if you fall into a ditch, he knows how to get out and to cause you to even profit from it and even capitalize on it. So prioritizing a relationship with God is paramount. And when I say a relationship with God, Jesus Christ, what I mean is not necessarily going to church. What I mean is getting into his word, studying his word, and learning who he is. That's what I mean, right? That is prioritizing a relationship with God from my perspective. And I know that has changed my life. And the second thing I would tell anyone in their 20s and 30s is to re-engineer life. Let me explain what that means. Look at your 66, look at life as a 60-year-old. How would you like to live your 60s? And then begin to re-engineer. What do you need to do in the 30s to make sure that you have that life in your 60s? I think if we kind of train the next generation to live like that, oh my goodness, life will be, oh man, just incredible, right? And more people will begin to enjoy their life and make the decisions that will lead them to a life where they're enjoying their older age, right? Or their latter age days. The third thing would be to prioritize their health, their mental health, their physical health, and then their relational health. How do they connect with people? And making sure they have the right people in their circle. I think.
Excellent. And so I'm going to add to that, right? So I agree with 1, 2, and 3. So that's repeated, but I agree with 1, 2, and 3 because that's the key to the foundation of how the rest of your life goes. What I would add to that is get to know yourself before someone else tells you who you are.
Yes.
It's important to learn what you like, what you don't like right now. In your teens, you still figuring out just how to grow up, right? How to just be a teenager and go through the quirks and the perks. And then in your 20s, people telling you maybe you got to go to school or you got to go to, you got to do this. Figure out if that's what you want to do, right? Because if I could do that over again, I would not have went to college. I'd probably be making way more money than I actually do now. And I would have mastered at least one thing. So I would say one thing is learn what you like, what you don't like, and you're going to evolve from that space. So whatever you like and don't like in your 20s, you're going to evolve that into your 30s, and it's going to mature from that space you were in your 20s to your 30s, and be okay with that if it changes a little bit. The other thing that I would say is be mindful of who you keep in your circles. Evaluate your friendships and your relationships. Are these people in your life because they can get something from you? Or are they in your life because they genuinely like you, right? Like they genuinely like you. Like people tolerate people all day in this world. We live in a world that can be very fake and you can just tolerate them. But do they like you and do you like them? Right? Because they may like you, but they have they gossip too much, or they have everything to say about everybody else, but never to say anything about themselves. And then the last thing I would leave with, if I could have told anyone, outside of everything that Coach Moline just said, because that is the foundation, like I said, is learn how to be financially secure. And don't worry, you can teach yourself anything, but find a mentor, find a coach, get yourself some financial education, because your future is going to, when you get to estimate what you at 60, what you moving backwards, what you would have wanted, you would have wanted some security. And granted, God can give it and take it away. So how we handle that money is important as well. And be a cheerful giver at all times. So I don't mean make money just to keep for yourself, but make money so that, because that's always my prayer. Like, God, if when I get to that space where I have the financial, the burdens that I could lift for others is a top priority for me. And that's why I know he deals with me so much financially, because it is a really top priority. So I would say get financially secure and learn how to do it the right way. So you never have to say, no one taught me. I didn't grow up in a household where, no matter what your life started as, if your parents were on welfare, if your parents were on, or you were raised by family members and they didn't have it, our starting point does not have to be our ending point and our growth point. So in your 20s and your 30s, figure out how to get to that growth point. And I think that will ultimately get you to a better space in every area of your life.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000% with both of you. And basically y'all said a lot of what I was going to say. And just to piggyback off right quick about what you said, Shakira, about financial, security or being stable or learning about your finances. I remember when I was young and I used to think my grandmother was so rich. I'm like, oh my God, my grandma's so rich. Because every Saturday when I spent the night with her, we would go to stores like Service Merchandise to get her jewelry cleaned. And then we would go to the mall and go get stuff. And she would buy me an outfit or something. I'm like, oh my gosh. And she said to me, whatever you do when you get older, pay yourself first. So when you get your check, pay you first and then take care of everything else. I'm like, okay. She was like, your tithe, of course, but pay yourself first, because, you need to always have something on the side for yourself. And then she would say, always have a case 5. I used to always say, what is a case 5 or a case 20? It's like a just in case. Have it in your wallet. Have just a piece of cash, some kind of cash in your wallet for just in case. And so from that, I've learned a lot. I haven't done very well. But I think because I gave so much to others and, so I would definitely say, take care of you. So I agree with Shakira, take care of you. And also those financial aid checks and those loan checks that you taking out for school. Okay.
Don't do it.
Do something with that. So with your financial aid check, let's just say this. When you get that financial aid check, what I wish I had done, I wish I learned more about investing. Again, we didn't come up in social media, so a lot of information was not really ready for us. And there's a lot of platforms that weren't there for us as well. Because back then, I really was interested in investing, but you had to get a broker and all these things. Now we have Robinhood, Acorn, and everything else, Fidelity, all these different things that you can now invest in. So now I would say use those platforms, learn, Google, YouTube. There's so many different people out there. You don't necessarily have to buy into things to make money. But if you can afford it, invest in that type of education. Invest in those things, because now the way the world is going now with financial security, and this is for 20s and 30s, we are not going to have Social Security much longer. Okay. Even us, as we get to that point, when we get to that point, we're not going to have that to dip into. That's why a lot of people are out here hustling. That's why we're out here trying to have different sources of income, different streams of income. You can't just have the one anymore. We are talking you working, entrepreneurship in any aspect of the way, that's having investment properties and all these different things. Shakira, you know best, because girl, you're the financial guru here. So, but yeah, I wish that I
Without
had
the finances.
I wish I had that piece there as well. Of course, God first. Absolutely. I mean, having that relationship with God for yourself, reading your word for yourself and asking questions. You know, if you find yourself in a ministry who does not allow you to ask those questions, it might be time to look for a new ministry, you know?
Wow.
I talk a lot about hiring and firing doctors and stuff in with this platform. And I think we hire and fire people in our lives in general. And that's what you have to do. We have to keep searching for what fits us. And when God says, this is the place you need to be at, that's the place you need to be at. It's just because I always say to people, yes, God may have pulled me out for a time being. Now I am ready to get back into the four walls. Like I visited churches, things like that, but it just didn't fit. It didn't feel right for me at the time, but I know that there's a place for me. And when that time comes, it is for me. And you have to be okay with that. Everybody will not understand the journey that God has for you, but it's your journey. And as long as you keep him first and foremost in your life, then everything else will work itself out no matter what. Of course, when it comes to health, you know, ladies, honestly, when you're in your 20s, your voice matters. 20s, 30s, 40s, I don't care how old you are, your voice matters, because just because you're an introvert doesn't mean anything. I'm an introvert wholeheartily, okay? I will go in my turtle shell in 2.2 seconds. Okay. So Malene will attest to that. Like I will shut myself in my room, cut the lights off because I need time to decompress, right? I need time to decompress. But your voice matters. And we have to speak up. We have to learn to speak up for ourselves. It's going to your doctor's appointments with questions. It's going to your doctor's appointments ready and armed. Okay. And what that means is either you have your phone taking notes and you're asking questions, you're being prepared for those appointments. Just because you're 20 doesn't mean that life can't happen, because life happens. I was dealing with endometriosis in my teens and in my 20s. I wish I had the tools that I have now that prep me to ask those certain questions. Talk about fertility, even in your 20s. See a fertility specialist. When you're in your 30s, see a fertility specialist. You may be able to freeze your eggs. You may be able, whatever you're able to do. These are conversations that you have to start having with yourself, with a spouse, with a boyfriend, whomever it is that you're gonna start your life with. You need to have those questions in place and have certain things in place so that you can have optimal health. I think with the food industry, what's happening in the food industry, our bodies are being subjected to so much. In the air, the atmosphere is changing. The atmosphere is dirty and filthy. And so, yes, it is kind of hard for us to lead real clean lives, like they say now, clean lives. But we have to take control at some point, right? So it's managing and eliminating the McDonald's, okay, eliminating the Wendy's, the Chick-fil-A's, the PDQ. I call it pot de quoi, but PDQ and all these different all these different restaurants out there, and really cooking for yourself, growing your own vegetables, fruits, vegetables, if you can. It's learning just a new way of eating. And it's a mindful eating. Shakira, you said something. I can't remember what you said. I don't remember exactly what you said, but mindful eating is when you are mindful of what you're putting into your body, but also you taking time with the food. You're prepping it in love. Okay. You are sitting down and you're enjoying it. You're not scarfing it down and just like, oh, let me eat just to eat. We're eating with a purpose. We're eating because I need nutrition. We're eating because I want to feel better about myself. So it's really paying attention to what we're doing. You don't have to stick to one specific diet. Y'all stop dieting. Just eat, okay? And eat in moderation. I think social media is like a plus and a minus. So everything in moderation, guys. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go strictly vegan. You don't have to go strictly this, strictly that. Eat however your body needs. If it requires you to eat a specific way, then that's what you have to do. But it's all about doing what's best for you, what's best for your body, what's best for your soul. Yeah, so that is my advice to my 20s and 30s and ladies in your 40s. We gonna live, okay? We are going to, if you haven't gotten anything else from this episode, we are going to live our lives, okay? We are going to do better for ourselves. We're going to put ourselves first. Well, we'll put God, then ourselves, and everybody else. Because when we work on ourselves, we're able to give so much more back to everyone else in our lives. And if you don't have the capacity, you don't have the capacity. Everybody does not, for those who don't value what you have to offer, it's okay. Just let them keep on trucking, let them keep on moving. It's fine, because right now we're in a stage of our lives where so much is changing in our bodies. We are hitting the perimenopause. We are, everything's restructuring. The world, we're taking in what's happening around us in the world. A lot of us are parents or either becoming parents. We're thinking about relationships. We're thinking about so much. And you got to take time for yourself. Seek the therapeutic services that you need to seek. Find a coach. You got 3 of us here. Find a pocket. Put us in your pocket. And just live your best life. Live it blessed, bold, and live it beautifully.
Thank you for listening to the Menopause Playbook. Follow me on Instagram at Millennial Menopause. Check out my website, millennialandmenopause.com. Until next time, ladies, be blessed, bold, and beautiful.